I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. And boy, I am just in a terrific mood after watching the United States men's national team lose to Panama moments ago. That's Panama they just lost to. The U.S. had to play with 10 men for a majority of that game, because Timothy Weah decided that he was going to go into the UFC combat zone in the 22nd minute and strike a Panama player in the back of the head and think that he wasn't going to get caught. And Panama beats the U.S., so now everybody's in a great mood, and nothing like bringing us all together like a presidential debate tonight at 9 o'clock. So it should be a riveting evening here in the United States of America, no question about that. But this is a political-free zone here on Hacker After Dark, because if I talked politics, I'd probably get in trouble, quite frankly. So it's all sports all the time here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We got a terrific guest lineup for you this evening. Mike Patton is a guy that I really enjoy talking to. He is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. So we're going to talk Jags. We're going to talk Trevor Lawrence. By the way, congratulations to Trevor Lawrence and his lovely wife. As they announced on social media earlier today, they are expecting their first child in a few months' time. So congratulations to the Lawrence family. But we'll talk with Mike Patton about the Jaguars, about Trevor Lawrence and his contract, and about the rest of the AFC South. Again, Mike hosts that show, Touring the AFC South. So we'll spend some time on the Texans, on the Colts, on the Titans. And I will go ahead and tell you, Jaguar fans, I'm not sure that you're going to like what you hear from Mike Patton when he talks about where he has the Jaguars ranked 1-4 in the division coming into camp. Quite frankly, I was stunned by it, but I'll let you hear it. You decide for yourself your thoughts. He comes up in less than 15 minutes. Also, Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report, as we preview NBA free agency now that the draft is in the rearview mirror. NBA free agency begins at the end of the week. I believe you can begin negotiations on Sunday. You can officially start signing players next week. So we'll preview Paul George, Klay Thompson, the big names in NBA free agency. Where might they go? How active will Orlando be? They got a lot of money to spend. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report does a terrific job covering the league, and he'll join us coming up here in about 40 minutes or so. So we're absolutely jam-packed. We're with you till 10 o'clock, and as always, we are glad you are with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So, on January the 7th, the Jacksonville Jaguars lost their 5th game in 6 attempts. The collapse was complete. From 8-3 to officially becoming only the 6th team since the year 2000 to start an NFL year 8-3 and miss the postseason. The biggest late season collapse in postseason, or in Jaguar history, rather. Biggest late season collapse in the history of the franchise. Fast forward about 2 months, and the Wednesday after free agency began, or I guess it was the Thursday after free agency began, we're going nonstop on social media, constantly hitting refresh, constantly trying to get the information, and we find out that the biggest offseason move for the Jaguars, signing Calvin Ridley to an extension, not only did not happen, but he ends up going to the absolutely hated arch-rival Tennessee Titans. So in 2 months' time, from January 7th to the first 10 days in March, the Jaguars had their biggest late-season collapse in the history of the franchise. and they lost their biggest free agent of the offseason to, of all teams, the Tennessee Titans. It's not good. That was a bad 60-day period. But as they say, the night is darkest just before the dawn. So what has transpired since Calvin Ridley went to the Titans? Well, let's think about it. Josh Allen, one of the best defensive players to ever wear a Jaguar uniform, will one day have the sack record for Jaguar defensive players. He will have it alone once he passes Ngakoue, and it will happen sooner rather than later. He gets a brand new 5-year extension. He's here for the long term. The Jaguars draft Brian Thomas, the man in the National Football League, number 23 overall, who led the LSU Tigers and led all of college football in touchdown receptions last year. The Jaguars then get Trevor Lawrence locked up to a 5-year, $275 million deal. Richest contract in the history of the franchise, and you got your quarterback now under contract through the 2030 season. And then finally this week, Mayor Donna Deegan, the Jacksonville City Council, and of course the terrific work from owner Shad Khan and team president Mark Lamping in conjunction with each other, working it out, getting that stadium of the future passed in the city council. And now the Jaguars, the fan base, the organization, the entire city, we all look ahead to what that stadium will mean for this city moving forward, starting in the 2028 season. Wow. What a 180, right? From the biggest late season collapse in team history to losing Calvin Ridley to the Tennessee Titans. Jaguars were down on the ground, man, but it's not how hard you hit, as the great Rocky Balboa once said. It's how hard you can get hit and keep getting up. How much can you take and keep moving forward? And since Ridley left, you get Josh Allen done. You get Trevor Lawrence done. You draft a guy that had the most touchdown catches in college football last year. And you get that stadium of the future done. I guess the night truly is darkest before the dawn, because these last 3 months, April, May, and June, have been quite the dawn for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, honestly, think about what a time to be a Jaguar fan, to cover this football team. Shad Khan made some news in the last day or two when he's speaking to a lot of media outlets about the stadium of the future and giving his thoughts on what happened at the end of last year, right? Organizational failure was the term used. Blaming all people that were involved, I guess. There's not one single point of blame. It was organizational. You could have blamed a lot of different people for what transpired. Interesting to hear those thoughts from the owner. We don't really get to hear that during the year. We certainly heard it in the last couple of days. But as Shad Khan said, and he's exactly right, now moving forward, we have all the resources we need to be successful, and the expectation from here on out is winning. That is the expectation. That has not always been the expectation here in Jacksonville. But that is certainly the expectation that we have right now. So we'll talk a lot more about the Jaguars. Again, Mike Patton, the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast, he comes up in less than 10 minutes. In the NBA earlier this afternoon, history was made as Bronny James drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers. That means now he, along with his father, one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game, are now teammates. LeBron James and Bronny James, both Los Angeles Lakers. Was an interesting afternoon if you were watching ESPN. They said this so nonchalantly, too. I mean, they didn't even make a big deal out of it at the time. You got a bunch of analysts up on the set there during the second round, and they're saying during the broadcast, oh, yeah, the Lakers are calling other teams basically saying, don't draft Bronny or else he's going to go to Australia. Don't do it or you're going to waste your pick because he'll just leave to go to Australia. Huh? And then they overlooked that for 10 minutes, and I guess they were getting so much feedback on social media they felt they had to address it again. Wait a minute, what? Apparently that's what they reported. The Lakers were calling teams that were in front of them. The Lakers picked 55. That's where they ultimately took Bronny James earlier this afternoon. But they were calling teams in front of them in round 2 saying, don't even think about it. Because if you draft him, it's a waste of a pick because he'll just go play in Australia this year. Whew. Interesting. I have a much different take on this as a father. If I didn't have little Hack, if I was still that 29, 30, 31-year-old hacker that used to come in here and I had a different perspective about things before I became a father. Now, if I was doing this show 7 years ago, 6 years ago even, oh man, I'd be lighting into LeBron James and I'd be lighting into the Lakers like nobody's business. Ridiculous. I even got some text messages from some buddies that don't have kids that kind of echoed that about an hour ago. But I have a much different perspective of it now, having my 5-year-old son. And I think it's a great story. I think it's a terrific story. The way they went about it, whatever. They got the job done, though. LeBron James, I'm not sure if he's the GOAT, but man, people do whatever that guy wants them to do. And the Lakers drafted his kid, I believe now, other than Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr., for the Seattle Mariners. Maybe somebody can fill me in if there was anybody else, any father-son combo at the same time on the same pro sports team. I remember the Griffeys in Seattle. What was that? The early 1990s. I want to say maybe it was 1990. But certainly it has not happened very often. And now Bronny James goes to the Lakers to join LeBron. And you got to wonder, will this be LeBron James' final year in the NBA? LeBron has always said he wanted to play long enough to be able to be in the league with his son. Now, not only is he in the league with his son, he's teammates with his son. So I do wonder, now that that is official as of earlier this afternoon, will this be the final year for LeBron? I can't imagine he's going to play more than 2 years anyway. Maybe he won't announce it. Maybe he doesn't want a swan song at every arena he goes to. But LeBron always said he wanted to be in the league long enough to see his son in the league. Well, LeBron, officially about 2 hours ago, that happened. And so now, don't take it for granted every time you see LeBron James on your television during the NBA season beginning in October, because it will not be happening that much longer. So enjoy every single minute of a guy that will go down to me as the second best basketball player that ever lived. I don't think he's Michael Jordan, but I would have him higher than anybody else. To me, it's Jordan, LeBron, and then you can get in the conversation. Kobe, Chamberlain, Shaq, Kareem. That's the opinion part of it, at least for me. The fact part for me, in my opinion, is if you want me to give my 1 and 2, it's Jordan, LeBron, and then everybody else is underneath that. I didn't take Jordan for granted when he was with the Wizards. I didn't like the fact that he was in Washington, but I watched a lot of his games because I knew we weren't going to see it very much longer. Now that Bronny's in the league and that hope has been fulfilled for LeBron, I wonder how much longer we'll see LeBron James in the NBA. We'll talk more NBA. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report previewing NBA free agency. He comes up in less than 30 minutes. Coming up next, Mike Patton. He is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. Let's talk Jags. Let's talk Texans. Let's talk Titans. Let's talk Colts. And don't harm the messenger here, but some of the things Mike's going to say, Jaguar fans, I don't think you're going to like. That's next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday in Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us.
Ever wonder how Dan and Jeff got hired at 1010XL?
I'm just looking to hire guys that I don't mind hanging out with.
The Drill.
You guys seem like cool guys.
Mornings.
Let's do this. You guys are hired, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
On 1010XL.
Great. Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. I told you guys earlier this week I had to take my wedding ring off for the first time in 9 years. No, everything's fine with me and Heidi. By the way, it's Heidi's birthday. Happy birthday, sweetie. But I had to take my wedding ring off because it was falling off of me. I've lost 75 pounds since February 20th thanks to Awaken 180. And as a result of losing that much weight, I'm going to have to go get my ring resized. I didn't want to lose it, so I took it off. Awaken 180 has changed my life. 75 pounds down since February 20th. Guys, if it's time for you to lose weight like it certainly was for me, do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and make the call, 844-346-1800, or go visit them online, awaken180weightloss.com. It's the best weight loss program I've ever been on. The results speak for themselves. If I can do it, you can. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our returning champion, a basketball court sweat mopper from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Louis Cramp.
Great to be back, Merv.
There's only one category left on the board, Louis. People you can trust to repair your air conditioner. Your 10 seconds starts now.
Well, I'm pretty handy with tools around. Great, so my Uncle Steve used to fix transmissions, so maybe he could... Okay, sorry. I guess just call the guys at Bueller?
That's right, Louis. The highly trained technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing have the tools and the experience to service any make and model of home air conditioner to make sure that you are cool.
You sure I can't just have a quick...
Yeah, we're done for today. Stay cooler with Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 27, 1977, Giants' Willie McCovey smashes 2 home runs in the same inning against the Cubs.
After consulting with several orthopedic specialists about my constant knee pain, I chose Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and Dr. Chris Swanson to handle my surgery. Their professionalism let me know this team was the one for me. The surgery was very successful, and if I ever have a future need, I'll continue to trust Southeast Orthopedic Specialists to take care of me.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Let's fire up the flavor and ignite those appetites. Let's slow down and smell the barbecue. Because all your favorites are smoked for hours and ready for eating when you are. From our famous ribs to slow smoked pork. Enjoy some perfection by the plateful, safely in our dining room or in the comfort of your home. with curbside pickup, drive-through, and delivery. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
Yo, E to the T here, and we've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino? Canceled because real life came calling. MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action. All from the comfort of the crib, my boy. I love the live casino. Just go to MyBookie and click Live Casino at the top. You'll find the dealers ready to spin just like you're at the casino. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience with the actions in your hands, and you don't even need to wear pants, my guy. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code 1010XL and a revamped loyalty program that'll ensure the host an exclusive VIP perk. So sign up and hit the casino with promo code 1010XL. The more you play, the more you win. Only with MyBookie. Come on, somebody.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are now inside of a month away from Jaguar training camp. The rookies report on July 19th. The veterans come in on July the 23rd, and the gauntlet, known as the 2024 NFL season, will officially begin. Let's talk Trevor Lawrence, let's talk Jaguars, and let's look around the rest of the AFC South with Mike Patton. He is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast, and Mike's always kind enough to give us some time here on 1010XL. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Mike, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. You and I spoke on air, a little over a month and a half ago. At that point, Trevor Lawrence did not have that contract extension. He has since gotten that 5-year, $275 million contract extension. Mike, your reaction when Trevor got the extension a couple of weeks ago?
Well, I definitely knew it was just a matter of time. I didn't think that they were going to let him go all season without a contract. So, in my opinion, it was just a matter of time. The numbers definitely caught your eye, though. I will say that.
They did, and look, it's the going rate, obviously. I applaud the Jaguars for getting ahead of it because they beat Miami and Green Bay to the punch. Now, Miami's got to figure out what to do with Tua. Green Bay's got to figure out what to do with Jordan Love, and the Trevor contract is going to be on the front of minds. And it's interesting, and you're a guy that is based in Nashville. You cover all the AFC South teams, so you have a regional perspective on this. Locally, we find ourselves defending Trevor and defending that contract. Nationally, it's gotten panned a little bit. From your perspective, what were your thoughts when you saw it?
Well, the first thing I thought of is he's got to be more consistent if he's getting paid this type of money. That was the first thought I had. I mean, if you look at his first 3 years, 58 touchdowns, 39 interceptions, a lot of ups and downs. If you look at the guys that are in the top 5 being paid, pretty good guys to be in company of. You got, in terms of like guaranteed money, you have Joe Burrow, you have Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm not saying that, Deshaun Watson is playing great, but in terms of numbers wise, over his career, it's probably better numbers than Trevor Lawrence at this point. So that's why I'm like, okay, cool. At this point, he's getting paid, but he's got to definitely take his game to another level in terms of maybe covering up mistakes that may happen, things like that.
And the question is, when you talk about the turnovers, you talk about some of the issues that Trevor has had. He's had a lot of drops as well. I know there's that video going on social media of all the could have been, stats, yards, touchdowns, etc., from balls that were dropped. Look, I think I told you this last time we had you on about a month and a half ago. I got a picture in my phone last year, and it actually had Jamal Agnew, Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk. And I remember thinking, wow, what a foursome that could potentially be at the wide receiver core. And now 75% of those guys are gone. Christian Kirk is the only remainder. But then you add Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, and Devin Duvernay. We'll also see about Parker Washington. Then, of course, if you want to lump Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne into the fold. Mike, my question to you is this. Does Trevor have the talent around him to be able to be successful this upcoming season?
Oh, he definitely has the talent around him to be successful. I mean, it looks like every other year, minus the Urban Meyer year, of course, obviously. But, yeah, he definitely has the talent to succeed. It's just a matter of, to me, it's a matter of what are they going to call offensively? Can they be both consistent in terms of Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence? And, of course, now I'm forgetting the offensive coordinator's name.
Press Taylor.
Press Taylor, yeah. Can they be consistent in terms of getting the production out of Trevor, putting him in positions to succeed, and can he go out there and execute it?
Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, we also learned last year pretty quick that an offensive line your offense is only going to be as good as the big uglies up front. I mean, if Trevor's getting hit and getting injured all the time and you can't run the ball, your offense isn't going to be very successful. I don't care what kind of skill you have. So my question to you is this. Cam Robinson, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, with Brandon Sheriff and Anton Harrison. Do you feel that starting five is good enough for the Jaguars?
Well, it's definitely better than what you had the previous year. Mitch Morse is definitely a veteran, a guy that can come in and command the offense and basically offensive line and, kind of set things where they need to be. It's definitely going to be a lot on Cam Robinson. He has to be the anchor there on that offensive line. I know Anton Harrison is nice and he's growing as a young player, but you've got to depend on the guy that you paid, and that is Mr. Cam Robinson, because I know there's been a little bit of ups and downs and some kind of feelings both ways when it comes to Cam Robinson, his health, and just his overall play. So it'll be just interesting to see there. But it is good enough. The offensive line is good enough on paper and is actually better than the offensive line they had last year. So, that definitely is good enough for him to succeed. We'll just see if it actually pans out on the field.
Yeah, they gave decent money, too, to Ezra Cleveland and Mitch Morse. And I guess the good thing for the Jaguars this year, depth-wise, I think you could do a lot worse as offensive linemen 6, 7, and 8. Walker Little, Luke Fortner, potentially Tyler Shatley. There's a lot of guys that will not be starting, Mike, that have played an awful lot of football in the National Football League. So I think if any injuries do accumulate, which they will through the course of a 17-game season, the Jaguars have a decent amount of depth that appears on that O-line.
Definitely better than what they had the previous year because, you go into the season, like you mentioned, with less question marks in terms of your backups and knowing what you're getting if, injuries happen.
We'll see what happens on the O-line. Again, Mike Patton here with us, host of the Touring of the AFC South podcast. All right, so before we branch out, I want to tell you about a poll that I put on my social media earlier this week, and I was pretty shocked by the results, quite frankly. I excluded Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen. I took them out of the equation. I said, after Trevor and after Josh, give me the third most important Jaguar coming into this year. And, of course, I had 4 options. And you could have argued Tyson Campbell. You could have argued maybe Foye Oluokun. But the 4 options I put up there were Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, and Trayvon Walker. Now, let me ask you before I give you the results. Take out Trevor, take out Josh. Out of Kirk, Walker, Ingram, and Etienne, Mike, who do you think is the third most important Jaguar coming into the year?
Honestly, I think it might be Travis Etienne with the run game.
All right, so you say Etienne. I said Evan Ingram. Trayvon Walker won that poll, and it got over 500 votes. Does that surprise you at all?
Definitely does surprise me, especially since you have Josh Allen on the opposite side. However, I do think he's going to have a breakthrough season this year.
Yeah,
it did surprise me.
I could see that. I mean, people talk about the collapse last year, Mike. Trayvon Walker was one of the highlights of that collapse. People don't focus on it enough. Well, those last 5 or 6 games, Walker figured out some things because he was getting to the quarterback much more frequently.
Right. Definitely. And I think with the change of defense, I think it actually is going to put him more at home than he was last year, to be honest.
All right, Mike, let's branch out in the division a little bit. Let's begin with Houston. Do you have them as the favorites coming into 2024?
Yes, sir, definitely.
What about them do you like?
I like that they address some needs. I mean, defensively, they upgraded in terms of Daniil Hunter, bringing him in to be the pass rusher that they needed, opposite of Will Anderson. I mean, they upgraded Azeez Al-Shire at linebacker, a guy that knows D'Amico Ryan's system. Definitely offensive line. They still, paying people there, doing things there. And then the running back position, you upgrade there. You go get a guy in Joe Mixon that's a veteran that can do a lot of different things and runs the football tough when it comes to the end of the season. Add Stephon Diggs and actually converting that to a 1-year contract was an excellent chess move to do because he's playing for a contract now, so he may be more inclined to be in line the entire season.
We'll see how Houston handles being the favorite. Obviously, Jacksonville did not handle it very well, and I know 14 of the 17 games are similar, but Houston's going to figure out about a first-place schedule, too, when they have to play Kansas City and they got to play Baltimore and they got to play Dallas this year. We're going to see about the Houston Texans here in 2024. Mike, up in Indianapolis, they kept a lot of their own guys, which are good, right? Grover Stewart, Kenny Moore, Michael Pittman, all re-signed. But obviously it's going to come down to the health of Anthony Richardson and the fact that, for whatever reason, he did miss time during OTAs and minicamp with what was described as a sore shoulder. That has to give you a somewhat pause, right, as far as Indy coming into the year?
Yeah, it definitely does. He has to prove he can stay healthy. I mean, of course, it was only 1 year. However, that 1 year did not go very great when it came to being healthy and being on the field. And that'll be something definitely to watch, along with A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is another wide receiver that can take the top off of a defense, but he can also run the route tree as well. He can be all the things that they thought Alec Pierce was going to be, and then some. So that's something to watch, and also to watch potentially the slide of Alec Pierce, along with maybe the ascension of Juju Brents as a corner, which he's like 6'3" at corner, which is fitting that he's playing for Gus Bradley because Gus Bradley used to coach Richard Sherman and those guys, they were big corners as well. So it'll just be interesting to see how that all pans out. And who is their corner opposite of Juju Brents? Because, for the life of me, I don't understand why they waited so long to draft a cornerback.
Everybody talks about D'Amico Ryans last year, and with good reason. I mean, I'm not, negating what he did, but the job Shane Steichen did in Indianapolis, I mean, good grief. You lose your top 5 rookie quarterback, a month into the season. You got Gardner Minshew in there, and you came within 1 4th down conversion of going to the playoffs and what would have been a winning division, winning the AFC South. I mean, Steichen, to me, deserves an awful lot of credit, and I'll be pretty intrigued to see what he could do with a healthy Anthony Richardson for 17 weeks.
Yeah, definitely is going to be interesting there. I definitely want to see the combination of Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor and see how that works out in the backfield. I'm pretty sure defenses may have some fits dealing with that.
Mike, as we begin to wrap up, you're based in Nashville. Let's talk about the Titans. They spent a lot of money in free agency, man. L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, obviously Cushenberry, Kenneth Murray, Pollard, Tyler Boyd, Awuzie. You can just go on and on. The Jaguars did that 2 years ago, and it worked for them. We'll see what happens with Tennessee. What are the expectations up there from the Titan fan base about their chances in 2024?
Well, the expectations are quite interesting. You have some fans that are saying that, this year is a step up and, they could be a wild card. You got some fans that say they could win the division. So, it's very high expectations, as you could tell. So, to me, it's going to be all come down to one guy in terms of just the offensive wise, and that's going to be Will Levis. If he takes that next step with all these different weapons and better protection up front, then this team takes another step in the right direction and could potentially contend for the division at that point.
in December, they're going to have 3 wide receivers that are 30 years old or older. What's the future there, wide receiver? Is this probably DeAndre Hopkins' final year in Nashville? Is Tyler Boyd a one-year rental? What are your thoughts there?
Well, we know Calvin Ridley is going to be here beyond this year. But as far as Tyler Boyd, we're not for sure there. I would say it depends a lot upon how he does this season. And also with DeAndre Hopkins, he seems to really like it in Nashville. He's been he actually was at CMA Fest happens in Nashville. And he actually was walking out with Morgan Whalen and everything. So he actually enjoys being in Nashville. So it wouldn't surprise me if he gets an extension or if he ends up staying with the Tennessee Titans beyond this season, actually.
Mike Patton, host of the AFC South podcast. We'll tell you about that podcast in just a moment. Mike, final question. 1 to 4. You have Houston number 1. How do you assess the rest of the division 2, 3, and 4 here in late June?
Honestly, right now, I have it as Houston 1, like you mentioned. I have the Titans 2, the Colts 3, and the Jaguars 4 for right now.
Wow. Okay. You're on in Jacksonville, Mike. You're going to have to explain that one. What's your line of thinking there?
My line of thinking is all the teams in this division are going to be above 500. So that's not saying that Jacksonville is going to be awful. All the games are going to be competitive. All the games are going to be close. However, I do think there are some questions with Jacksonville that you have to figure out. Mainly, like you mentioned, the offensive line, making sure that Cam Robinson can be that anchor, health, things like that, even though the line is better. And then defensively, of course, I know you have Allen and Walker up front, but I'm still concerned about that secondary. And to me, if you look at their secondary and you look at the Colts secondary, the Colts kind of made it happen without having a secondary and having strength in numbers up front. And I'm just and then plus they have the better linebacker core, in my opinion. So that's why I kind of picked the Colts over the Jaguars in terms of 3rd and 4th. The Titans, I just think they fixed all their holes this season. And I think with the focus on the pass game a little bit more this season and the versatility of that offense, along with the aggressive defense that Denard Wilson will be bringing, I think they're going to actually jump up there and be the team that surprises people, kind of like how Houston did last year.
Interesting. So, I always say June, July, and August are the months of hope. Reality smacks you in the face in September, and we'll see which one of these AFC South teams does get smacked in the face with that dose of reality coming up here in about 3 months.
I will say, will it surprise me if Jacksonville makes the playoffs? No. It will not surprise me if they finish 3rd or 2nd. That's how tight I think this division will be this year in terms of the competitiveness. And I think that this division actually is the 2nd best division in the NFL outside of the AFC North.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think the only other argument might be the NFC North. That's the argument I've gotten from people. But I agree. The transformation in the South from where we were 12 months ago to where we are now is quite the transformation in a positive way. Mike, tell the good folks in Jacksonville about the podcast and where they can find it.
Okay. Well, also just want to mention, Jacksonville fans, I'm not saying the team is awful. They could fall anywhere between 2nd and 4th in terms of everything. It's just where I think they're going to land. But, however, it definitely could be wrong because it's going to be that tight a race, I believe, in the AFC South. But as far as the Touring the AFC South podcast, you can find it on of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and, of course, all those different places, and YouTube as well. Just look up Touring the AFC South. And also, of course, you can find me on Twitter at MikePatton82. That's MikePatton82 on Twitter.
Mike, we always enjoy the conversation, man. Have a great rest of the summer. Let's do it again about middle of training camp, and we'll see where things are at that point.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Thank you to Mike Patton. Always appreciate Mike coming on with us here on Hacker After Dark. And look, I don't have to agree with everybody's opinion, right? I mean, you can have a simple debate, a simple conversation. And, in fact, I very much disagree with what Mike had to say. No way, shape, or form do I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be dead last in the AFC South. I don't buy the Tennessee thing, even though they bought a ton in free agency. It's all going to come down to Will Levis. That's what it's going to come down to. You cannot tell me Tennessee is better on paper right now than Jacksonville. Indianapolis, kind of the same thing, right? I mean, Anthony Richardson is such an unknown. We'll see what happens there. I would probably take Houston right now. If I had to do a 1-4 in the AFC South here on June 27th, I would go Houston 1, Jacksonville 2, Indy 3, Tennessee 4. We'll do that officially once the season gets a little closer. But, yeah, do not agree with Mike that the Jaguars are last. Having said that, appreciate his opinion and appreciate him always coming on with us here on Hacker After Dark. We'll do more NFL talk in the 9 o'clock hour as our AFC West preview continues. We've already been to Kansas City. We've already been to Las Vegas. Tomorrow night, we will go to Los Angeles. Tonight, it's all about the Denver Broncos. Kind of a changing of the guard. Jerry Jeudy is gone. Justin Simmons is gone. The Russell Wilson experiment did not work. In comes Bo Nix. Will he get the keys to the Broncos right out of the gate? Will he have to work for it a little bit? Ryan Michael. That name might sound familiar. Yeah, he's that analyst for the Pro Football Hall of Fame that's been on a crusade, it seems, on Twitter in supporting Trevor Lawrence. But Ryan Michael also works for KOA Radio in Denver, Colorado. He is our Broncos guy, and we will have Ryan on to look back on the Broncos offseason. That comes up later on in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll also throw a little college football talk with you as well. You realize we're 58 days, less than 2 months, 8 weeks from Saturday, Florida State, Georgia Tech to kick off the college football season. We'll visit with my buddy Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com also in the 9 o'clock hour. But coming up next, the NBA draft now is in the rearview mirror. NBA free agency is on the horizon. Paul George, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell. What other big names potentially could be on the move? Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report does a great job covering the association. He joins me next on a Thursday night in Jacksonville, Florida, with Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Even more Jaguars. Listen to the Tommy Mac podcast with Tom McManus and Campo and Joe with Dave Campo and Joe C. Find these original podcasts at 1010XL.com or on Twitter at 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns, and here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Brackish Vodka, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is the smoothest local vodka you can find. Made right here in Jacksonville, Florida, 100% from corn. Brackish Vodka is the local gluten-free choice. Brackish Vodka, for those that live life slightly salty. A proud partner of the Jaguars.
You can find Brackish Vodka and all the new flavors available at Liquor Masters in Mandarin. Pick up a bottle today and drink like a local.
Thinning or balding hair? Introducing Scalp Micropigmentation now at IHRS. SMP is a procedure for men and women, looks like your own growing hair, and corrects thinning areas. SMP is perfect for men and women who shave their head and want a full head of hair look. Call IHRS now, 904-777-IHRS, 904-777-4477, or visit hairforme.com today.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Are you nuts? What?
641-1010.
That's crazy.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills.
There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
3 bands, 1 stadium. Def Leppard, Journey, Cheap Trick. Together. 3 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame icons. Their biggest hits, July 10th, Camping World Stadium. Tickets on sale now at DefLeppardJourney2024.com.
Expert Automotive is ready to keep you cool this summer. Right now, get an AC inspection or a system cooling checkup. Your choice for only $19.99. Their gift to you this summer is $50 off any service and a free tire rotation with any service. Their ASE certified technicians can keep your car cool without breaking the bank this summer. Call them at 374-3373 to get an appointment today. Expert Automotive. They never sell greed, only what you need.
Matt Hayes here for Leonard Truck Outfitters. The Southeast's biggest truck accessory and trailer company is opening their newest location on Beach Boulevard. Truck accessories, trailers, or commercial uplifts, they've got you covered. From Real Truck, UWS, WeatherGuard, carry-on trailers, and much more. Join us for our grand opening on June 28th, starting at noon. XL Primetime will be there live from 2 to 4 with special promotions and giveaways, even a free golf cart. That's June 28th. Don't forget about our other location on Blanding Boulevard.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. We have an NBA world champion, the Boston Celtics, for the 18th time, hoist a banner as they knock off the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games, a dominating win in Game 5. Now that the Celtics have won the world championship, now the offseason officially begins. And boy, it gets here quick, right? The NBA draft is next week. Free agency opens up in less than 2 weeks. I mean, there is not a lot of rest for a lot of these teams. And that gets me to Orlando now that the offseason has officially arrived. Before we get to your outlook on what the Magic may do this offseason, Eric, just your thoughts about last year, from 22 wins 2 years ago to 47 wins this past year, taking Cleveland to 7 games in round 1. What did you make of the Magic and what they're building down there in Central Florida?
Well, I think you have to love it. I don't have any complaints, no notes. Yeah, they could use some shooting, but other than that, this is a team that has built, quote, the right way. I mean, there's no absolute right way, but they've taken their time. They built through the draft. They've drafted some really nice players. They've spent very carefully when it comes to free agency, when it comes to trade, so that they're not clogging up their books, so that they have the flexibility to not only improve by going with some bigger names, but have sustained success with some of these young guys as they grow and bloom into some even higher level players, which is saying a lot because Banchero's already pretty dang special. So really happy for the Magic. It's been one of the bright spots of this last year has been their ascension.
They have a ton of money, Eric, to spend this offseason. The question is, will they do it? And if they do, what are the choices they're going to make? You had a piece on Bleacher Report late last week where you basically gave your predictions as far as who was going to go where in free agency. And, man, you had the Orlando Magic being very, very active. We'll begin with the name that's out there, and that's Klay Thompson, obviously a terrific, terrific all-star caliber player with Golden State. I know it was a big deal over the weekend that I guess he unfollowed Golden State on social media and also followed Paolo Banchero in the same breath. Your thoughts on Klay Thompson and Orlando, and are those rumors legit in your opinion?
Well, there are very few teams that have money this summer, and I think that's where Orlando's in a great spot. You have Detroit. Detroit has a new leadership with Trajan Langdon, and they were pretty terrible last year. Let's not sugarcoat it. They were awful, and so it's just really difficult to say where they're going to go. The Sixers are the other team that have a lot of money. It appears that their target is Paul George, and I have heard some possibilities that Orlando could go after Paul George. I don't know that makes sense based on his age and his price. So when you look around and you say, well, Klay is certainly older, yes, but if you're getting him in the 20s, maybe 25, 26, 27, 28 million, the Magic can sort of afford to overpay. But I would recommend and probably think that they do shorter deals, 3-year deals, nothing longer than that. Because at some point you're going to have to pay Paolo. You're going to have to pay Franz pretty quickly. You have to pay Suggs pretty quickly. These are the sort of decisions that in the state of the NBA, as the new rules kick in, become pretty punishing. So they just have to be careful. But Klay and the Warriors seem to be heading towards an exit. It's unclear. There's always that possibility that they decide to keep that group together until Steph's contract is up a few more years. But if he leaves and if Philadelphia isn't the answer, I think Orlando makes more sense than any other team.
Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report. Eric, what would Klay Thompson do for that Orlando Magic team?
Well, there's two things. One of them is important, and one of them is only semi-important. The semi-important thing is Klay's a name. I mean, he's a champion, and adding that kind of star power. Yeah, he wasn't the Steph of the group, but I mean, Klay is a draw. He's going to get you on national TV a little bit more if you're Orlando. He's going to bring more media attention, more fan attention. So that's the semi-important. But the reality is the Magic don't shoot very well. They do a lot well. They move the ball. You've got some great defenders, but they just need someone to help space things. And Klay had a down year, and he still shot about 37-ish% from three, which is about average. His down year, one of the worst years of his career, was like the average, which shows you how good he is. And you get him in a role where he doesn't have to dominate. He doesn't have to play that big of a role. You could start him and then have him play the three as a shooting guard, have him come off back up at three in the rotation, not over-rely on him to do everything, and just give him open looks because there's a lot of talent on this team. Make sure that he's spacing the floor. That should give Paolo and the others more space to operate.
Final moments with Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report covering the NBA. Eric, you mentioned Paul George at the beginning. He's probably the biggest name that could be on the move in the next couple of weeks. Joel Embiid went on national television and basically pitched him to come to Philadelphia a couple nights ago, which was interesting. What do you think happens with Paul George? Does he remain at home in L.A., or do you think he ends up elsewhere?
Well, I think the goal was to stay in L.A., and I think L.A.'s goal was to keep him. But when they went through the numbers, clearly they're not offering him what he wants, because if they did, he'd have signed an extension already. So now you say, okay, they'll work it out. That's what everyone I talked to. Oh, yeah, at some point they'll work it out. He'll stay in L.A. That was just sort of the point or the take that most people around the league seem to have. But as you get closer and closer, as you mentioned, we're 2-3 weeks out from having all these answers. Well, at some point, I was going to use a cuss word there. At some point, you need to make a decision, and or don't make a decision. And it feels like they're getting there, where Philadelphia obviously is going hard at Paul George. They have Embiid pitching him on national TV in the finals. I mean, come on. I mean, I have him going to the Sixers at this point. They have the money, and while a team like the Magic are younger and have a real invested they need to invest in a long-term goal of success for the Magic. Short-term fix is not where Orlando needs to go. Philadelphia, however, you have Embiid, who's already in the age of around 30. You have Maxey, who's a young player, but they're going to invest in him. And they have the means to go get a big win-now player. We could debate whether Paul George is that guy, but he's the best version of that guy available this summer. And so I think that's what the end result is. But look, the Clippers, they have the money. He's from L.A. area. If they match, they don't have the right, like a restricted free agent, to match and if he wants to go to Philly, he's going no matter what. But if they offer the same, then I think he might stay. So I don't think the story's written yet, but I did put in my guesses that he goes to Philadelphia.
Eric, final question. As far as the trade market, we've heard Trae Young, we've heard Lauri Markkanen. Those are probably the biggest two that we've heard. What other big names should we be on the lookout for that potentially could be traded when the market opens up in the early part of July?
Well, with Markkanen, I think that the Jazz used their cap room to pay him, and so I do think he's not going to move. The Trae Young market's a little tricky because he's very expensive, and he's not for everyone, to be honest. Some teams like him, and some teams really don't. So as far as others, there's been some question as far as what will happen with Julius Randle and the Knicks. Are they going to continue on as they are? They did so well without him. Obviously, the Bulls would like to get out of Zach LaVine, but unfortunately, his knees and his injury factor and contract size might make that difficult. Some wonder if the Hawks can't trade Trae Young. Will they go back to trying to move DeJounte Murray? There's a few others. The big one is out of Cleveland, though, and that's, does Donovan Mitchell commit long-term into an extension? And if so, do they move Darius Garland? Or does Donovan say, I don't want to be here long-term, move me, get me to one of the teams I want to go to? I think that's what everyone's waiting for. There's been some buzz that I don't know if it's accurate or not, that the Cavs are confident that he'll stay. But confidence doesn't mean anything until Donovan makes a decision. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think that's really the big one. And it could come to pass in the next week or 10 days or before the draft, that we at least get a sense of what Donovan wants to do, because they need an answer, and their decision and what they do next is going to be based on that answer.
Eric, tell us about the Sports Business Classroom.
Yeah, we have a program in Las Vegas. I've been doing it since 2016, and we help students who are trying to make an entry into the basketball industry, be it with a team, on the agent side, or in the media, any of the ancillary companies. There's so many opportunities to do something that you love. And so check out sportsbusinessclassroom.com. We are actually full already. We do have a wait list, but you're welcome to sign up and reach out to me, and I could talk to you about the program and what we have to offer.
Absolutely terrific. Along with that, excellent work as well for Bleacher Report covering the National Basketball Association. Eric Pincus. Eric, I know you're busy, man. Thank you as always. When/if Orlando does strike with some of these free agents, hopefully we can get you back on to get your reaction. Thank you as always, my friend.
All right, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Consider him the captain of your ride home.
Frank Frangie.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
We're on our way to the moon, Fred.
Frank Frangie.
Oh, that man.
Afternoons on 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Why Arlington Toyota? All right, you've got to hear. Just drive to their lot and you will see that Arlington has a huge selection of new vehicles in stock in one location. No more driving around trying to figure out what you want. Arlington has it. And every new Toyota purchase comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty, unlimited time, and miles. Plus, you now get 60 days to love your new purchase or exchange it, and Arlington's Credit Helper program to help get you financed. Shop arlingtontoyota.com today.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Duck Rooter is the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida, and we want to help you protect your septic system. Think about this. What would happen to your car if you never changed the oil? Septic systems are no different and should be pumped at least every 3 years. Lack of maintenance is the #1 reason for septic system failure. Call Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services today to schedule your pumping.
You're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
This is Hayes Carlion for QC Kinetics. Are you not able to enjoy this summer as much as you want because of joint pain? Well, give my friends at QC Kinetics a call at 904-274-5522 for a free consultation. They're serving the Jacksonville area with locations in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra Beach. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC Kinetics advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue so you can walk, run, hike, play golf, move again, pain-free. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. Stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 904-274-5522 in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. That is QC Kinetics.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And the 9 o'clock hour has arrived. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock tonight. 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Sports will be a good distraction for the next hour. Again, we'll with you up till 10 o'clock. If you want to avoid nonsense going on in other places, stick with us for the next hour as we got a lot to get into. A little college football talk with my buddy Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. Again, 58 days away from the start of college football. Florida State, the first game out of the gate as they take on Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland. Later on in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll get back into the National Football League. This week, it's been all about the AFC West. We've already been to Kansas City. We've already been to Vegas. Tonight, it's going to be about Denver. Russell Wilson gone. Jerry Jeudy gone. Justin Simmons gone. Not a lot of expectations for the Denver Broncos and head coach Sean Payton. Are people sleeping on them? Are they maybe going to be better than we think? Ryan Michael is a contributing writer for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He also does terrific work on KOA Radio out in Denver, Colorado. And we will review the Broncos offseason with Ryan coming up in about 25 minutes time. Again, the big news here locally, congratulations to Trevor and his lovely wife as they announced on social media earlier today. They are expecting their firstborn. That's awesome. I definitely remember that feeling. So again, congratulations to the Lawrence family. And what a time to be Trevor Lawrence, right? You get the richest contract in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you find out that you're going to become a father 2 weeks later. That is not a bad 14-day period for the franchise quarterback here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, big news in the sports world, Bronny James, drafted earlier tonight by the Los Angeles Lakers. He is now teammates with his father, LeBron James. Bronny was taken with the 55th pick overall in the NBA draft that transpired just a couple hours ago. So more NFL talk later on, but coming up next, let's talk Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and more. My buddy Connor O'Gara does a terrific job for SaturdayDownSouth.com, and he joins me next on a Thursday night in Jacksonville, Florida, with Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're always glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Summertime fun.
Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long.
Now that's hot. 1010XL.
Matt, eating well can actually taste amazing with Awaken 180.
Exactly what Mike and I have been telling you, Hacker. It's all about discovering flavors that are as good for you as they taste.
I'm now down 70 pounds, and it's only been 3 months. No gym, no meds, just great food and fantastic coaching from Awaken 180.
Woo, baby. I told you so. Awaken 180 has changed the weight loss game. I saw Mike Dempsey drop his 25 pounds in a month, so I wanted in. You listeners know my results, but what we haven't shared is a ton of friends and family and listeners have jumped on board too. Their results? 100% success across the board.
Crazy to think there is a program that can work for everyone, but losing 70 pounds in 3 months proves that crazy is not so crazy. If you're listening and ready for fast results, expert coaching, and delicious food, Awaken 180 is the way to go. Head to awaken180weightloss.com and watch the weight melt off, starting with your very first week.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns, and here we'd have dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 27, 1977, Giants' Willie McCovey smashes 2 home runs in the same inning against the Cubs.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
If you'd like to play or sponsor in the ALS Amelia Island Golf Classic, August 9th at Amelia Island Golf Club at Long Point, go to alsgolfamelia.com.
Help make Jacksonville safer and play a round of golf at the First Coast Crime Stoppers Golf Tournament, October 21st at Amelia River Club.
Canines for Warriors provides veterans with lifelong companions in one of their highly trained service dogs. If you know a veteran who could benefit from a companion or simply want to support, visit caninesforwarriors.org.
If your home is missing a little love, the Jacksonville Humane Society has over 100 pets of all ages and breeds looking for a loving home. Find yours at jaxhumane.org.
There is a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating to a local blood donation center.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
Hey sports fans, it's Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, if mosquitoes ruin your summer fun, it's time to call Kingfish Pest Control. In my own experience, they are the kings of mosquito elimination. Call Kingfish Pest Control today and get 50% off your first treatment. Sign up for a full season of lockdown coverage and get half off your first treatment. Don't let mosquitoes steal your home field advantage. Reclaim your yard with Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The middle portion of June, we've been so caught up in the Trevor Lawrence contract extension and mini camp and everything that's gone on. All of a sudden, man, you look at that calendar, we're inside of a month until media days, and the college football season now just over 2 months away. Remember, Florida State is the first team out of the gate as they take on Georgia Tech over there in Dublin, Ireland on Saturday, August the 24th. With that being said, my buddy Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com, does a terrific job covering the world of college football, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Connor, how you doing?
Doing really well, man. Appreciate you having me. And gosh, you saying that media days is less than a month away. I'm thinking to myself, I gotta do a lot of things over the course of the next month, even though I try and stay on top of it year round. But a lot of stuff that we got to take care of here before we're heading off to Dallas for SEC media days.
Yeah, it sneaks up on you, no question about it. And Connor, you and I haven't spoken in a few months, and the narrative back then was Billy Napier being in trouble coming into 2024. And I don't necessarily think that narrative has changed all that much, but there is no doubt, at least to me, Connor, and I'm curious your opinion, Napier did very well to end the portal. Napier looks like he has a lot of influx of new talent on that roster. I think clearly on paper, this is Billy's best team in Gainesville coming into the year, is it not?
Yeah, it should be. You're a year 3 head coach. You've had the benefit of time. You've had the benefit of having a returning starting quarterback. For all the talk right now about Jaden Rashada, I think Florida fans are rightfully excited about DJ Lagway, especially what they've seen from him so far in a limited sample size in the spring. And so, yeah, you could look at that and say this should be Billy Napier's best team. But the lingering cloud that I know Scott Strickland doesn't want us to talk about, but we have to talk about, is how difficult that schedule is. It's a schedule that many are calling the most difficult in the history of college football. We'll see if that plays out that way. That doesn't mean it's a guarantee. But what we know right now is that 5 of those teams that you're ending the schedule with finished in the top 12 of the AP poll. And if you're a team that is 10-23 in your last 33 games against Power 5 competition, we're going to talk about that schedule. If you're a team that's been a total doormat on the defensive side of the ball the last 4 seasons, even dating back into the Dan Mullen era, we're going to have questions on that side of the ball. And Billy Napier, for all that he's done to be able to improve this roster, he's not going to avoid those questions until games are played. And so that's why there is this lingering doubt. And I fully expect Florida players and coaches, maybe some media members that are going to get to media days and say that, Florida's being disrespected. You've had 3 consecutive losing seasons. That's the nature of college football. If we're respecting those teams, there's probably something wrong with us. So that's kind of the way that this Florida conversation is going. And I don't expect that to change unless they can change that themselves by beating some of those teams that we don't think they're supposed to beat.
Connor, it's a great point. There's not a tougher 5-game slate in America than Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State, Texas. I mean, it is insanity what Florida has from November on in the season. Having said that, I want to talk to you about the first 7 games before the cocktail party. I've had a couple of guys on that cover the world of college football, and they say, and it was interesting, that there are a lot of good logos on Florida's schedule in September and October, right? Miami's a good logo. A&M's a good logo. Kentucky has been a good logo as of late, as has Tennessee. But they're not sure how good those teams are going to be this year, very similar to Florida. What's your thought on at least the first 7 games on that Gator schedule?
Well, I mean, the Kentucky thing, Florida fans shouldn't be overlooking that one when you've got 3 consecutive losses to Kentucky. So to me, if any Florida fan is overlooking Kentucky, I'd say wake up and realize that it's not the 1990s anymore. Like that is by no means a pushover game, especially when Kentucky ran it down Florida's throat last year. So that game, yes, it's in the swamp, but Kentucky's won there too. So I don't really think that all of a sudden is an obvious win on the schedule. And then the game at Tennessee, like, you know, that one is different than last year. When last year I was telling anybody that would listen, look, the struggles that Tennessee has had in the last 2 decades in the swamp, it's very well documented. Until we actually see them overcome that, I'm not sitting here penciling in Joe Milton to beat Florida in the swamp. That's different when you've got to go up to Knoxville and you've got an offense that, in my opinion, this should be one of the best in all of college football. And that's what Josh Heupel had in the previous 5 seasons that he was a head coach. So I can't look at that matchup, despite the way that it played out last year in Florida, and say, oh, yeah, Florida's going to be just fine. I'll agree with some of the remarks about the logos for some of the early parts of that schedule, with Miami, who's getting so much love coming into this year, with 9.5 as that regular season over-under. And then Texas A&M, which can be a bit of a wild card. They have a road losing streak that dates back a couple of seasons now that they're still trying to overcome, that they're going to have to overcome in the swamp. So, and the UCF game will be interesting because, look, KJ Jefferson beat Florida last year in the swamp with an Arkansas team that was a disaster. And now he's got that UCF team. So that's by no means a given either. So that's why we talk about this schedule the way that we do. Even though the front 7 is a lot more favorable, there are still spots where if Florida doesn't play its A game for 60 minutes, they can absolutely get beat.
Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Connor, August 31st, we know how important that game is for Billy Napier. That's equally as important for Cristobal, right? I mean, the losing coach of that game is going to have issues explaining that to their fan base.
They are. College football is so unique in that we get an 8-month offseason to talk about these teams and how they can overcome this narrative or that narrative. And then that opening week happens. And if you have an opening week game in which you feel like your team does exactly the opposite of what you've been talking about for 8 months, then it can have such a big impact on the rest of the season. Now, you know, the way that it played out last year with Florida losing a game that everybody's watching at Utah, a game in which Florida's offense was just a disaster, and they looked totally unprepared, undisciplined, and it was a huge indictment of Billy Napier. And while I didn't agree with the hot seat discussion, you see the way that games like that can sort of overshadow the discussion surrounding a head coach. And it's a pressure cooker game. It's going to be that, not just because the temperatures are going to be insanely high for a mid-afternoon game in August in the swamp, but for both of these coaches, they need that one, man. They absolutely do. If Mario Cristobal is going to be the guy at Miami that they paid him to be, this is the type of game that you go on the road and you win in year 3. If Florida really is as down as many are expecting, then yeah, if you're ever going to get back to those levels and be a thing in the ACC, then you need to win games like this against that type of competition. So it's going to have a ton of eyeballs on it, not just because it's a 3:30 game on ABC, but I'm very much looking forward to it. It feels like it's going to shift so much perspective after 8 months of discussion about these two programs.
You know, Connor, the vibe I get, look, we know the pressure's on Billy, obviously, coming into year 3. And maybe it's because here in Jacksonville, the Miami fan base, I guess, maybe isn't as vocal. Maybe if I was in, Fort Lauderdale, it might be different. But I don't get the sense that despite 2 years of average to below average play, that Cristobal has the same pressure on him that Napier does. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I do. I really do. And I think it's because of the administration, too. And there's, Napier's buyout is different, I believe, than Cristobal's. I think Cristobal's is like at least double what Billy's is. That's part of it. And I think when we talk about Billy on the hot seat, it's also because of how we view Scott Strickland's future. And you're not going to get to hire and fire 3 different football coaches. That just doesn't really work out that way. So the notion that Billy's job could be in jeopardy is also associated with the person who hired him and made that what appears to be like a $60 million investment, if you include the support staff and the assistants and all that. So, yeah, I do think that Billy's in a different spot than Miami, which kind of recognized before Mario Cristobal, thanks to Kirk Herbstreit, we should actually spend money on football. Like, what if we actually did this? And instead of assuming that we could just rope off I-4 and get all of those recruits, even though we haven't done that in a very long time, what if we actually invested like these big time schools are doing? What a concept. So I think there's a little bit more patience with Mario, but at the same time, man, he'll be on every hot seat in America if he can't get it done this year. He'll face that going into year 4 if this is another disappointing year.
A couple more for Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com. Connor, to Tallahassee we go. And look, the bottom line is Florida State, undefeated regular season last year. To me, they got completely shafted by not getting into the playoff. You and I have talked about that. But here we are, Norvell, a brand new extension there in Tallahassee. But man alive, they got to replace a ton. They got a lot of guys that played at Doak Campbell last year that are going to be playing in the NFL on Sunday afternoons this year. Did Florida State replace that talent, or is it only natural they're going to take a little bit of a step backwards?
They're going to take a step back, and that's okay. That's fine. I mean, you had a 13-0 start to last year. It's okay to take a step back. This is not season on the brink type stuff that we were talking about a couple years ago with Florida State, where if things turn out differently down the stretch in 2022, we're not talking about Mike Norvell as the head coach, much less one who just got a significant extension after reportedly turning down the Alabama job. So you're looking at this with entirely different eyes. I think the entire perspective for Florida State is, what does it look like in what should be a floor season? If you're still competing for a 12-team playoff spot, which I believe Florida State will still compete and do that, TBD on if they can make that push and get into the field. But if you're still doing that, you should feel great. And you should feel like Mike Norvell, for all the great things that he's done in the portal, it wasn't just a group of one specific players. What's it going to look like with a new starting quarterback? That's another big question. Mike Norvell, for all the great things he's done as a head coach, not just at Florida State, but during his time at Memphis, you're still waiting for him to answer that question of what's it going to look like in a post-Jordan Travis world? What will it look like with DJ Uiagalelei under center? If we're talking about DJ Uiagalelei in the same conversations that we were talking about Bo Nix as a guy who we thought we had figured out, but all of a sudden he just took off. To me, that is the ultimate tip of the cap to Mike Norvell. Now, I don't think he's going to do that necessarily. I think DJ Uiagalelei is who he is at this stage of his career. I think 2021 Georgia certainly changed the entire course of his future. I will always bang the drum that that's the case. But if that's the conversation about Mike Norvell at season's end, Florida State is just in such a good place moving forward. And I do think that there's a lot more positive than negative that can come from a year like this.
Do you believe they're the favorites in the ACC, or would you give that nod to Clemson and or Miami?
No, I give it to Florida State. I'm not there yet with Clemson. I know that there's a lot of talk about this defense, what it's going to look like this year. And, that they're finally going to have a defense that looks like what Brent Venables had, when he was there. But I do think that there are still a lot of questions about that Clemson offense. I'm just not there after they finally showed that they're really vulnerable against ACC competition. I'm not buying the Miami hype in the way that so many are. And, yeah, I like Cam Ward. I think he's a really nice player. But I still need to kind of see it week in, week out. They still struggle in the trenches too much for my liking. And I think that this is a Miami team that if you're going to be about that, you need to consistently beat these teams in conference play, not play down the competition or have moments like what we saw last year with that collapse against Georgia Tech. So for me, I'm more of a believer in Mike Norvell and what he's doing. Even with all of that turnover, I'm still a believer that Florida State can win the ACC this year.
Final moments with Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com. Connor, the preseason magazines love the Georgia Bulldogs. Las Vegas loves the Georgia Bulldogs. Does Connor O'Gara love the Georgia Bulldogs coming into the year?
Yeah, how can you not? How can you not? I mean, look, the way that last year played out with losing to Alabama in the SEC championship, who among us? I mean, goodness gracious, Saban's last loss in the city of Atlanta came against a Tim Tebow Florida team. I mean, think about that. And that was Georgia's lone blemish of the entire season in its bid for a three-peat. Now, the question that people need to be asking about Georgia is when it gets that preseason AP number one, they will. I do believe that'll be the case. What do they do with it? Because you need to talk about this. If you're going to have all these conversations about Georgia winning a national title, I think it's perfectly fair in this age of the internet. But if you go back 2005, okay, that's when this streak began. And it's what is 18 of the last 19 seasons. The preseason number one in the AP poll failed to win a national championship. The only team who did, 2017 Alabama, a team that, look, many people didn't feel belonged in the playoff. A certain UCF team felt like it belonged in the playoff. They needed 2nd and 26 just to win that national championship against Georgia. So that's the stat that I wonder about. How do you handle that pressure? Winning 3 of 4 in this sport is so unbelievably difficult. In the last 70 years, Nick Saban, Tom Osborne, that's it. Not even Bear Bryant. Okay, this is an unbelievable feat, and that's the pressure that Georgia is facing and why it would be such an illustrious feat if they were able to do it. So I love Georgia for so many different reasons because I don't think they have a whole lot of weaknesses at all. But that's the question that I'm going to find myself asking. And if I do ultimately give into that and say I think that's too much pressure in this day and age of the internet with an 8-month offseason, it's probably going to be a Texas national championship pick from me. So TBD, but I do think Georgia belongs in that conversation.
And you led me right into it. Final question, Connor. When you talk about a tier system in the SEC, the vibe I've gotten this week, talking to a lot of people, is maybe Georgia, Texas, right underneath that, Alabama, Ole Miss, and then work your way down from there. Is that the way you see it, or do you see it differently?
I think tier 2 is really more loaded than – I think there's not much separation in that tier 2. Which I would include, a Mizzou. I would include a Tennessee. I would include LSU. I think even Oklahoma is going to have some moments where they're like, are we about to see Oklahoma beat a top 5 team? But they're not necessarily going to be one of these teams that I think is making it to an SEC championship in year one. I think there are 8 teams in the SEC that have 12-team playoff upside. Now, that is not my way of saying I think 8 SEC teams are going to make the college football playoff. That is impossible. But I do think that the conference has so much depth in that tier 2. Once you get past that tier 1, which I believe includes Texas and Georgia, there are a lot of those teams that you look at and you're like, all right, returning starting quarterback. All right, they return, this coordinator. They return, this much production on the offensive side of the ball. Can they figure some things out defensively and be a little bit bend, don't break? I think there are a lot of those teams in that group that make you feel like, man, it's not going to be surprising if we're sitting there in mid-November and we're like, yeah, that team is – they're 8 or 9 and 1, and they're in that spot where a 12-team playoff berth feels likely. So, yeah, I mean, tier 2 is an important tier to get into now in this day and age with the 12-team playoff. It's no longer just the tier 1. So, yeah, we'll probably have a lot of discussion about what that looks like as the season continues.
Connor, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, Saturday down south, what they can look forward to and what you have coming up over the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We do have a ton of college baseball coverage right now. I know I talk and write pretty much exclusively about college football, but we have lots and lots of college baseball coverage from all different angles out of Omaha. And then I have just wrapped up our Chaos Scenarios series, wherein I outlined 10 chaos scenarios for the 2024 season. You can find all of those and lots of other coverage that we are continuing to dive into on SaturdayDownSouth.com. As I always tell people, it is the one-stop shop for any college sports fan.
Connor O'Gara is one of our favorites, and we're always happy to have him with us here on 1010XL. Connor, thank you very much, man. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
Serving Jacksonville since 2007 and proud to do it.
You guys must have some seriously cool stories to tell.
1010XL, your hometown station.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Summer starts now at Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet with our summer sale. It's not sink or swim. We have vehicles for every budget and every need, starting as low as $79.99, and you won't get burnt. We offer 20-year 200,000-mile protection on new and 7-year 100,000-mile protection on used. Plus, we can getting really cool things off with our 30-day exchange policy. Start the summer off the way you deserve it with our summer sale at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We're here to wow you.
Craving a cold one? Well, zip into one of the great gate locations you see all over town and pick up a cold Bud Light, or a Natty, or an Ultra, maybe a 12-pack of the King of Beers, or some cold Coronas. It's all happening at your local gate convenience store. Slide on in today.
If you're a veteran, listen up. Did you know that you can access up to 100% of your home's equity right now? Hey, Prosser here. You can do it with Loan Pronto's VA Equity Advantage program. You can get 30, 50, 100 grand or more and use that money to pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, car loans, or maybe use the cash to do that home improvement project. Veterans love working with Loan Pronto because they make it easy. No junk fees, no hassle. They can unlock that cash in your home's equity in a matter of weeks. Don't keep paying insane rates on credit cards. There's a smarter alternative with Loan Pronto. Get more info and start the process now at loanpronto.com. Or if your current VA loan rate is over 6.5%, Loan Pronto can get you in a streamlined refinance with a lower rate right now with no income verification and no appraisal. Lower your monthly payment big time. Loan Pronto makes it so easy for veterans. So call now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1666781, subject to lender approval.
Make your outdoor living perfect with Art of Natural Stone. Pavers, patios, gravel, pool decks, and more. Using all natural stone design, and they do the installation. Visit Art of Natural Stone on Route 1 near Bartram Springs or on Beach Boulevard.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's the coolest week to save during the summer fan sale at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Buy one fan, save 10%. Buy two, save 15%. Buy three or more and save 20% off all fans at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Showroom near the Avenues.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
This weekend is going to be intense. The Ratified Credit Union Jacksonville Axemen are bringing the pain on Saturday. No pads, no helmets, just full contact action. Get there early. The Axe Women kick off at 5, the Axemen at 7. Tickets start at $10 and kids under 12 get in free. This might be your last chance to see Rugby League this summer. Visit jacksaxe.com for tickets and game information.
Expert Automotive is ready to keep you cool this summer. Right now, get an AC inspection or a system cooling checkup. Your choice for only $19.99. Their gift to you this summer is $50 off any service and a free tire rotation with any service. Their ASE certified technicians can keep your car cool without breaking the bank this summer. Call them at 374-3373 to get an appointment today. Expert Automotive. They never sell greed, only what you need.
Former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org. Denver.org.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
Andrew Gibson here, sports fans, and the next time you're driving by Kuhn Flowers on Beach Boulevard, why not stop in and smell the roses? Kuhn Flowers has totally changed the face of their store inside and out. Send someone you love a floral arrangement today from Kuhn Flowers.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as our AFC West preview continues. We will make stops in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, in Kansas City. Tonight, it's all about the Denver Broncos. A new era of Denver football. Russell Wilson, that experiment did not work. He's out. Bo Nix has arrived on the scene. What does the 2024 season hold for Sean Payton and Denver? With that, let me welcome back my buddy Ryan Michael, who's become a very popular guy here in Jacksonville as of late. He is a contributing writer and analyst for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He also does work with KOA Radio in Denver, covering the Denver Broncos, which is why we want him on this evening. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Ryan, we always appreciate it. All right, before we get into Denver, which will be the reason we got you on, I got to ask, you're putting out a ton of content on social media, your positive thoughts about the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. And boy, Jaguar fans have flocked to you on social media. Did you expect the positive, quite frankly, overwhelming reaction you have gotten from Jaguar fans and, quite frankly, some of our fellow media members over the last couple of weeks?
I'm definitely not surprised to receive the love from the folks down there in Jacksonville as far as the sports media. I've said for a long time, I think sports media in Duval is one of the most underrated parts of the entire country. So I don't take that for granted, and I very much appreciate that. The fans in Duval have always been very supportive of me and my work. So while I'll say I'm not surprised that they're enthusiastic, I'm pleasantly surprised that they're as enthusiastic as they are, coming off the heels of what I know was a little bit of a disappointing season for you guys. So all the love that they're sharing on X and beyond, it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, it's been fun interaction, no question about it. Ryan Michael is certainly one of our guys here on 1010XL, contributing writer and analyst for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, of course, he also does KOA Radio in Denver, covering the Broncos, Ryan, which is why we wanted you on this evening as our AFC West preview continues. All right, very easy question, but probably a complicated answer. Why did it not work? And, quite frankly, why was it so miserable, the Russell Wilson experiment in Denver?
I think it would depend on how you choose to frame that question. And from a certain perspective, perhaps I'm in the minority here. I felt that Russell Wilson played well relative to the situation that he walked into. So we know Sean Payton, a Super Bowl winning head coach, in my opinion, one of the greatest coaches in pro football history. He's also a head coach who runs a system that's predicated upon timing, rhythm, sack avoidance, accuracy, executing within structure. And those things traditionally, Ryan, have not been the strength of Russell Wilson's game. Russell Wilson is one of those sandlot quarterbacks who can put the entire team on his shoulders if need be, play out of structure, throw bombs down the field, and connect more often than not. So from a statistical perspective, despite the criticism last year, Russell Wilson finished top 10 in passer rating, top 10 in touchdown passes, despite missing some time at the end of the year. He led the AFC in touchdown pass percentage at 5.8, led the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks, despite missing games at the end. And the negative, the blemish on that resume, and if you had to pick one stat to sort of hone in on and say why he wasn't the best fit for Sean's system, would be sack percentage. And that has historically been the greatest weakness of Russell's game because he's making all of those plays out of structure. He finished the 27th in sack percentage last year. So was it the fit for Sean Payton's system? Absolutely not. Did he play above and beyond what I expected him to be able to do in that system? Yes, he did. So I think it was a mutual parting of the ways that will hopefully be beneficial to both sides. With that said, I think the next question coming is probably going to be about Bo Nix, the guy who's here to inherit the mantle, if you will. And I think on paper, Bo Nix is the absolute slam dunk choice for the system we're running up here in Denver.
You know, it's interesting you say that about Bo Nix, and we certainly will get to him in one moment. But I did want to ask you about Sean Payton. It's early, right? He hasn't been in Denver very long, so you don't want to pass judgment. But what is the thought about Sean Payton so far amongst the Bronco fan base?
I think the fan base is divided but patient. You know, 1 year is 1 year, and going 8-9 isn't the worst thing in the world. Broncos country has endured tougher times over the last 8 years for sure. So when you're talking about a guy who's stepping into the building with a resume that stands out amongst the best to ever coach the game, as I said, he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He led 9 top 5 scoring offenses in New Orleans, twice leading the league, what he did to turn around that city. I'm optimistic, I'm patient, and I'm hopeful to see what he's going to be able to do with the collection of guys we've put together for 2024.
Ryan Michael, contributing writer and analyst for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You also hear him on KOA Radio out in Denver, Colorado, as we kick off our AFC West preview here talking about the Denver Broncos. All right, Bo Nix, first-round pick. Obviously, it appears that Denver had targeted him probably from the beginning of the offseason with the release of Russell Wilson and obviously the drafting of Nix there early in the draft. And you said you think he is the perfect fit for what Sean Payton wants to do.
I believe that he is. And I may also be in the minority, having had him ranked second on my board amongst quarterback prospects this year. I had Caleb Williams far and away in the number 1 spot, but I had Bo number 2. I had Jaden Daniels number 3, J.J. McCarthy number 4, Drake May number 5, Michael Penix number 6, and then Spencer Rattler falls off to a very distant number 7. For what Bo does well, I've referred to him many times over on Broncos Country Tonight KOA as Drew Brees light, and it's a statement that I mean with great affection. The comparisons between him and Drew Brees are fair. He's a guy with tremendous pocket presence, a player whose information processing and accuracy are the greatest strengths of his game. He's Drew Brees light with a little bit of wheels too, though. He led all of college football in 2022 with 14 rushing touchdowns. Folks know him to be the guy who just led the entire nation in total touchdowns, 51 touchdown passes, 45. The statistics are absolutely he tops the charts by so many measures. Number 1 in completions last year, number 1 in yards per attempt, 9.6, number 1 in adjusted yards per attempt, 11.2. The NCAA single season record for completion percentage at 77.4%. The interesting thing about Bo is he's not just a box score magician. He flashes just as well on tape as he does in the box score. And Pro Football Focus had him ranked either first or tied for first in grades under pressure, 91.2, when blitzed, 90.6, on throws past the sticks, 94.8, in the intermediate passing range, 94.7, on first and second down, 91.3, on third and fourth down, 91.8, and even outside of the pocket, 87.9. So when you have a quarterback who started an NCAA record 61 games coming into the building with those analytics marks, with those box score numbers, it's tough to ask for much more, on paper at least, and that's all we can do up to this point.
Now, we know Caleb Williams is going to be the guy in Chicago from day one. We know Jaden Daniels is going to be the guy in Washington from day one. Word on the street is that Drake May might sit behind Jacoby Brissett in New England for a little bit as the season kicks off. What about Denver? They traded for Zach Wilson, and people will laugh about that, but he was the number 2 pick in the draft not all that long ago. Is there a legit quarterback competition, or do you feel Bo Nix will be the guy on opening day?
With all due respect to Zach Wilson, the quarterback battle between Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix is going to be just that. So I think that Zach is a fantastic addition to the roster, given what little cost it took to get him here. As far as it being a legitimate quarterback battle, I think that the priority in the building is for us to do anything and everything to support the development of Bo Nix. And if that means that he sits for a little while and the more experienced quarterback goes out there and starts week one, I don't believe that Jarrett Stidham, for all of the experience that he does bring ahead of Bo Nix, is going to be anything but a short-term solution. So I believe Coach Payton is going to evaluate their work in camp, in the preseason, and make a decision that's in the best interest for the team. If Bo Nix is not the starter day one, I'm very confident he's going to be the starter by the end of the season. But if I had to make my own personal selection, I would go with Bo Nix week one. We're a long ways away from week one, though, so there's a lot of work still to be done in camp.
Couple of more for Ryan Michael, contributing writer and analyst for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You also hear him on KOA Radio in Denver, Colorado. Quickly, Zach Wilson, is he going to make the roster if he's the third quarterback?
That's a difficult question. I would say it's a coin flip at this point in time. Again, the expense of what it took to bring him in here wasn't great. And so I think it's always a good thing to have depth at the position and also quarterbacks who have different sets of strengths. I don't envision him as being QB1 or QB2. Let's give it a little bit of time. I'm pulling for him. I hope for him to succeed. I just think we need to temper expectations as far as what that role is going to be.
Why didn't it work out for Jerry Jeudy in Denver, and will Cortland Sutton be a Denver Bronco when the season kicks off?
I'm hopeful that Cortland Sutton will be on the roster by the time that, hopefully sooner rather than later. As far as Jerry Jeudy, both him and Cortland Sutton fell into a similar type of bracket in terms of their on-field playing production. Jeudy was an expensive signing over there in Cleveland, right? We ended up getting a 5th and a 6th round pick for him, and then he ended up signing a 3-year, $58 million contract extension with $41 million guaranteed. So I'm wishing him well over in Cleveland, but at the end of the day, we had to make some difficult decisions when it came to the salary cap situation. A lot of that is a function of what happened as a result of letting Russell Wilson go.
Do the Broncos, Ryan, have enough talent on offense to surround Bo Nix with, running back, wide receiver, et cetera, to be competitive in 2024?
I believe that the Broncos are going to be more competitive than a lot of people expect us to be. And I think that is a function of just how strong the draft class was. I'm excited to see what Audric Estime can do when healthy. You're looking at a guy who finished 3rd in the nation with 18 rushing touchdowns last year. Bringing Troy Franklin in to play alongside Bo Nix. He was a guy who ranked tied for 3rd in touchdown receptions with 14 last year. And I think that we're going to see some flashes of that excellence that we saw at Oregon from time to time. Are the Broncos a stacked roster on par with the Tom Brady era Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Kansas City Chiefs under Patrick Mahomes for most seasons? No, we're not quite there yet. But I do expect the team to be more competitive than most folks see coming.
It's interesting you say that, and obviously you're much closer to it than we are here in Jacksonville, because I look at Justin Simmons, who's like Mr. Bronco. He's no longer there. Jerry Judy's gone. They trade Russell Wilson. They draft a rookie. On the surface, it appears like a rebuild in Denver, but you don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, we have another year under our belt in Vance Joseph's system. So historically speaking, the more years that you have to establish what it is you do, the better results you're going to get in the years that follow. So I don't think it's helpful to get caught up in the jargon as far as retooling or rebuilding. The Denver Broncos are an incredibly competitive organization who have worked their tails off all off season long to rebuild this team, retool this team, restructure this team, however you want to phrase it, to enable us to be as competitive as we can possibly be in 2024. So I'm excited to see what's to come.
Ryan, final question. The division as a whole. We've been talking to guys all over the division this week. Obviously, Kansas City's the favorite. I'm not breaking any news there. The Chargers are interesting because they lost like everybody on offense. Now, they got some young guys, but no more Gerald Everett, no more Austin Eckler, no more Mike Williams, no more Keenan Allen. It's bizarre. And then Las Vegas, who really knows? They got questions at quarterback. Is it Aiden O'Connell? Is it Gardner Minshew? I mean, where are the Broncos, in your opinion, coming into the AFC West here in 2024?
I think that we have a realistic opportunity to compete for the second spot in the division. And also never say never, because even with the team that finished 8-9 last year, we still knocked off Kansas City once, right? So is it realistic to expect us to come in and win the division on paper? No, I don't think that that's practical. But what I can tell you, and I always defer to this, Ryan, is all we can do at this stage of the year is talk about where we are on paper. And where we are on paper, I assure you this, the Denver Broncos took more steps forward relative to their situation the previous year than any of the other teams in the AFC West. And we do have a history of being able to play Kansas City quite competitively. So given those realities, I'm excited to see what we can do. And it's never a one-year process, right? It's a multi-year process, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
Ryan, most people in Jacksonville know your work for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, they've followed you and your thoughts on Jacksonville. We've had you on tonight because you also do a big part for KOA, for Bronco Country out there in Denver, Colorado. Where can people see your Broncos content?
They can tune in every week, Broncos Country Tonight. I have my own segment, Inside the Numbers, with Ryan Michael, along with Benjamin Albright and Nick Ferguson. So looking forward to hopping on the radio this Thursday and every week. So tune in.
Ryan, always appreciate it, man. Thank you as always, and we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good, Ryan. Appreciate you having me on.
Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Ryan Michael, who is a contributing writer and analyst to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You also hear his work out there at KOA Radio in Denver, Colorado, as our AFC West preview continued this evening. What did we learn tonight? Well, I think we learned a lot, and one of the things that I talked about in hour number one, and this is kind of my mantra here, is everybody's looking forward to Miami and Florida, right? Big game for Mario Cristobal, big game for Billy Napier, the opener on August 31st. And I would agree, that is absolutely an enormous game. But I got to tell you, 2 weeks later, when Texas A&M comes to the Swamp on September 14th, I think that's as big, if not bigger, from a perception standpoint. I mean, think about it. Gainesville, home field advantage, Billy Napier in year 3. That will be game 3 for Mike Elko, who is the first-year head coach out of Texas A&M. And if in game number 3, in year 1, Mike Elko and that staff bring the Aggies to Gainesville and they knock off Billy Napier and the Gators, who are in year 3, well ahead of them on that timeline, boy, that'll be a red flag, man. That'll be an indictment. So as much as I'm looking forward to Miami and Florida, I think Florida, Texas A&M, a loss there, potentially has deeper ramifications for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Thursday night, an action-packed, if you will, Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Ryan Michael, KOA Radio, out in Denver as our Denver Bronco preview. Our AFC West preview continued. Not a ton of expectations for the Broncos. Kind of a changing of the guard, right? Justin Simmons gone. Jerry Jeudy gone. The Russell Wilson experiment is over. Bo Nix now enters the fray. We'll see when he actually gets on the field. But the Broncos are probably going to be looking to surpass some expectations because, quite frankly, there's not a ton of them coming in from Denver entering the 2024 season. Thank you to Mike Patton. He is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. Always enjoy talking Jags, Titans, Texans, and Colts with Mike Patton. If I don't always agree with him, that's fine. Again, if you missed it, Mike, who that's his podcast, the entire division, has the Jaguars 4th. Yeah, dead last entering 2024. I don't agree with it, but I let him explain it to you, and you do with that what you will. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report. Always enjoy talking with him as the NBA offseason, now that the draft is over, really cranks up with free agency beginning at the end of the week. And Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com, as we are now well inside of the 2-month mark until the college football season officially kicks off. We will be back tomorrow night on a Friday, and we will do it all over again to close out the week beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then,